makes going to the pit so special?
Oh, well, it's got to be one of the top 5 venues in all the country. And, I mean, it's just, I remember one year they stole it from us, went down and dunked the ball, and the roof caved in. I looked up and we're still up 8. It feels like we're down 20. I mean, it can rain down on you, and it's so loud in there, and there's that. And then now they have a team that is playing like the way they're playing. It all kind of adds up. And you saw the numbers of what they've been doing to teams down there, and good teams. I mean, I think nobody can argue that San Diego State, Utah State, and Nevada aren't really good teams, and they just got blitzkrieged down there.
Is that, I know you haven't experienced it yet this year, you will on Wednesday, but just watching the games on TV and paying attention, I know there was a couple year stretch there where maybe they weren't quite filling it wasn't quite as loud, but I mean, is it back to the good old pit, it seems like?
Yeah, but I don't ever remember it not being loud. Even if there was 8,000 there, gosh, when they make a shot, it kind of caves in on you. And, yeah, it's a different kind of crowd, too.
Do you watch that game last night from home?
Yeah.
Like the rest of us do?
Yeah, but maybe with a little different eyes. Yeah. So, yeah.
So what's your impression after sitting there watching that game last night then?
Kind of my impression of what I've thought about them the whole time is they're really clicking, and they're playing with such supreme confidence because, number one, they got veteran guys, and they've been through. I look back at old stat sheets, and you're like, oh my God, yeah, he was there then, because they've been there for a while. Those guards, especially House and Mashburn, they've been there since Patino got the job. So they just got veteran guys that are really playing with confidence and freedom, and they've all settled into the system that fits them, and it's working for them, and so aggressive. They take on a whole new aggressiveness at home, no doubt. But they're clicking as good as anybody in the country right now. No ifs, ands, or
What's
buts.
kind of your philosophy when you do go into a loud crowd like that? Do you kind of try and tell your guys ignore the crowd noise? Do you think embrace the noise and just kind of?
Yeah, I mean, you just get the more experience you get at doing that, the better you get at it. And we do have some experience with it, and we've been a pretty good road team, and I think we're getting better at some of that.
How much is there improvement? Or you say, look to me, when I watch, significantly better than last year. How much is it the 2 new inside guys have helped?
It seems like they got great chemistry too. Then, just watching them play, and great confidence. And when you're winning like that and it's all going right for you, that really helps with your confidence. And I think that's what jumps off the page to me is how, I mean, some of those shots they make are like, wow. It takes a lot to shoot those, and then even more to make them.
With Den too, I mean, I know everyone's talking about Mashburn and how
Yeah.
it seems like his game went to a new level this year, which
Yeah.
has helped him.
He's one of the best point guards in the league, no doubt. And I think people were anxious to see how those 3 could fit together, and it looks like they're fitting like a glove.
What do you think about how Jace played on Saturday? It's the most minutes he's played all season.
Yeah.
He seemed really efficient, and he finished the game +9.
Yeah, he was tough, and that's why he got more minutes. I mean, he earned more minutes, and he did some really, really good things, and that's great. We need him, and I'm excited because he's it seems like he's turned the corner a bit.
You talked about confidence, but when a guy like Jace gets in a little funk, is it because of confidence? And when he gets himself to play well in these last couple of games, is it because it doesn't start with confidence?
I think the game of basketball always does. It just always does. If you can have confidence, it's that way with your shooters. It's that way with it just always is. And, our job as coaches is to try to give them the tools to pull themselves out of those situations. Because you can say what you want, and you can try to put confidence in a guy, but ultimately they have to be able. They're the ones in their own head. They're the ones that have to do it. But as a coach and as a program, your whole program has to give the guys tools, as many as you can, to be able to respond to those things. Because everybody's going to go through that, ups and downs and crisis and come out of crisis. And it's just athletics. That's life. I mean, you're either in a crisis, you're coming out of one, or you're about to go in another one. That's life. And so, that's, everyone talks about sports being a great lesson to it. That's what we try to do in there. I mean, we had a lot of guys that care, and we put, we're playing great and we're having a good season, and that loss to them Saturday was devastating. That's a crisis, and to teach them and how. I mean, you don't just plow through with a hammer. You give them tools other than a hammer to get through the tough times and the tough things that are ahead, and the challenges that we're going to face, and the crises that we're going to go into. And with that's how you come out on the other side. Not just all right, we're going to hammer our way through this. It's that's kind of the old school way that there's better ways.
Did you practice yesterday, or did you come to the?
No, yesterday was day off, so we got today and tomorrow.
We saw RJ come in for a little bit. Is you last few games you guys have been doing an 8-man rotation. Are you trying to build him in as that 9th man in there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like a 12-man if I could, and because we need it. We need help off the bench, and you're also going to play at altitude, so there's a difference. There really is, and we have a great formula how we manage it, but that's where you need somebody to come in and help you. I mean, just to sub and have it hurt you can cost you the game, but especially in these 1-2 possession games, I mean, you don't want to mess it up for them by overthinking it and over subbing. So it's a fine line, but I'm not saying those guys did mess it up, but we've got help off our bench lately, and they're developing at practice. You have to see it out here. Don't go to games to practice your shooting. Go to games to do what you've been doing, and it's that with all the skills. And so, when guys understand that, that's when they make a big jump.
Talking about RJ, I mean, he played more minutes than he has in quite a while against Utah State. What did he do to earn those minutes?
Just he's been plugging away, and he's been working on some of the weaknesses in his game that like what are you gonna bring to the table, and what are you going to get subbed out for? Because I hate subbing guys out for mistakes, but you can't. There's just not enough time to okay, let him work through 10 mistakes. 10 mistakes, the game's over, And so they've got to know, okay, if I go in and do this, I can earn extra minutes. And, so we try to communicate that with them, and then they get a chance to work on it out here, and he's been doing that. One of them was guarding. You can't go in and get cooked every time. Another one's turnovers. You can't go in and oh, shoot, I got to get my legs under me, and I turned it over 2 times in 5 minutes. That can wreck a game. So, and that's part of being a pinch hitter. All the, guys that development, guys started out doing that. They all did, where they go in and get one shot. I mean, we've got a lot of guys in our program that have been that guy and worked their way up.
Obviously, the talk about being a zero-sum game, stats are what they are. And I know Max does a lot to help the team win that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but obviously he's struggling shooting the ball right now. How do you kind of weigh waiting for that next 6 of 7 game to come versus is there anything he could be doing differently? Or
yeah, but it's always a team thing with us too. You look at some of his best games, it's when our team did their best job of getting him easy ones. And that's your job as a point guard. That's our job, is to get each other, make each other better. And when we're really clicking, we do a great job of that. And so we got to keep fighting for that. But ultimately, it is, it's on the guy that's shooting them. They have a responsibility. If you're going to shoot them, you gotta be able to get it done. But he's been through stuff like this before, and he'll pull it out. And when you look at the film, you're always amazed at how many other things he did to help us. And because you're always you go back, and whether you win or lose, you go back and second guess every little thing and watch it and go, well, what could we have done different here? What could we have done different there? You do that all the time. And when you see a guy that's not shooting the ball, well, could you just pull him? Well, you can, unless they're doing tons of other things that really, really matter and really, really help you win. And we're seeing that out of the guys that aren't, their job is to shoot it. Our job is to get them great shots, and then their job is to make them. But there's going to be ups and downs to shooters. And, but you want great competitors. Shooters can't just be shooters; they got to be great competitors. And I know Max is that, and he'll get that going. I mean, but it is a zero-sum game. In the end, when two of your better guys, they hold them to 8 for 28, advantage them, and our guys know that.
There's that saying in basketball, shooters have to shoot to their slump. So how do Max obviously better than anybody, so, and you said that he works his way out of that. How does he work his way out of that? And how do you balance the shooting your way through the slump and then still going out and doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
There's a fine line.
Right, because and that's where watching film and watching, when you've done it well, when you haven't done it well, the ones you're missing, the ones you're making, and that really helps these guys, I think, and then we do a lot of like I said, I think I've talked about it before, where we watch NBA guys, what they're doing, because those guys make it look so easy, but their fundamentals are amazing, and what they do is what our guys do at a higher level because they've done it a lot longer. And so, you just try to give them all those different things, like, okay, here's when you had a great game, here's what you were doing that was a little different than maybe when those didn't go in. And sometimes you find things, where, okay, you were sped up on this and you got rid of it, you were on balance here, off 2 feet. But then sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, how did that not go in? It just rattled in and rattled out. There's some of those.
Maybe that's a lot of it, but I mean, his 2-point percentage this year, it seems like last year was like 46% conference play, and it's
Yeah.
like 27, 28%
Right.
right now. Are you, some of the post-ups and floaters and stuff like that, I mean, are you obviously you're okay with those because he keeps taking them, but how do you look at his
Well,
shots?
those have won us a lot of games over the years. I mean, you looked at last year down there in the first half, I think he had 16, and they were all that.
Yeah.
And they all went in where you're like, oh, how did that go in? He's good at those, and he's a good-sized guard. So he's got to keep, getting those and not lose his confidence in that, because that's also a way maybe you can get some free throws once in a while. And but it's been a big part of why we've won over the years, and you have to keep attacking that way.
Omar and fouls, and we had that first one in 11 seconds
Yeah.
in the second half,
Yep.
and then right off the bat in overtime. You want your guys to play aggressive, but bang fouls like that early in the period, early in overtime. That's a head thing. How do you
Yeah.
teach Omar to get out of that?
Well, and he's made huge progress because he was way worse 40 days ago, and his technique's gotten better at all this. So the one that he got a flagrant one, and those are the ones, because then the last foul, when the guy falls down and they call a foul, then it's not your fifth, and that saves you. So those are the ones that are really avoidable, but it's easier said than done, because there was a plan of attack to try to get that to happen.
Is the plan, when he stays out of foul trouble, to get him more minutes during the crunch time?
He's
Would you like to
been-
give him more minutes?
He's been, I mean, when you look back, it was a 45-minute game, but we had 32 minutes for him, I think, is what he played. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
But
average right around 30, I think.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's been amazing. The most important is at the end, because that's when he's been spectacular for us and won us games. And so it's so important to be able to manage his fouls and manage the game to have him in the end. And that was hard at Fresno because he had 4, and I had to keep him out. And it was like, if you sub him too early and he fouls, then you don't have him the last 3 minutes. If you sub him too late, then the other team's won.
Is 3 minutes your magic number?
It's a feel thing. Because that 3 minutes might be a defensive possession, and it might be, so it might be, okay, let's get through this defensive possession and try to bring him back in then. Or, I mean, it's also a feel of what kind of run the other team's in, how the game's being called. There's a lot going on. You can't just say a stone cold, but you need him those end game minutes. He's made so many winning plays. That rebound, the free throws he's made, all that kind of stuff.
Leon, you have a lot of good shooters on this basketball team. Max
Yeah.
is one of them. But in the league, 11th in field goal percentage. Is there a denominator there? Is it simply just it's not going in?
Yeah, I've got some ideas that I think that can make us better and make those guys better. And it's when you look at when we were playing well and shooting well, what it was and what it is now, that there's some differences that we got to get solved.
With Jason, Roddy, San Diego State maybe played them a lot together. We've seen that
Mhm.
within the last game you were kind of, you mentioned James, but late in the game, you're kind of subbing them one for each
Yeah.
other. What's kind of what do you like about them together? What do you not?
I like it gives you, we don't have a ton of ball handlers and a ton of guys with, that can go by guys. And, we got good size guards, a lot of big wings and Buzo and Max and then, Andrew's big, strong wing and Keen, but they give us two quicker, smaller guards. But then on the other end, the other team, depends who they're matching up against. Sometimes the size, they'll go at one of them with the bigger guard. And so, Utah State had some bigger wings that kind of were a matchup problem a little bit, and they went at, a couple of those guys right away when they got in the game. So there's always that. And you got to figure out what's, different games. San Diego State presses the whole time, so to have two ball handlers out there was great. Utah State wasn't hurting us with that.
You mentioned Roddy on that last play, kind of coming forward. Maybe was that when you look back at the tape? What did you see defensively on that?
Yeah, we all fanned out worrying about the three and afraid of losing instead of guarding and doing our jobs. And you got to get that ball stopped. And we'll learn from that though. Those are end of game situations, and we'll get better at them, and we're usually pretty darn good at them. But there's a lot going on, and I understand what he's doing, and I understand what those guards were both thinking, because him and Max were both back, but they got guys that a three beats you there, so they're thinking, and Brown is one of the clutchest, and we had talked about that. We had talked about in the end, they're looking for him. And so he ran to, that's rattling in his mind. And so you can't, there's a part of me that, in hindsight, let's go double Martinez. Now he throws it to Brown and you lose. So I get it, but we can't be afraid to guard, and we can't be afraid to, because I think sometimes in that situation, Omar was a little afraid not to foul probably. And maybe if he's aggressive and goes and beats it, we win. But that's all hindsight, and
Where's an and one and you could lose.
right, exactly. There's a lot that goes on, but it's always crystal clear in hindsight. But again, I go back to giving Martinez a ton of credit, because a lot of, when that clock's going, it's going fast in your mind, and they got the rebound and they held it for a second, then they kicked it, and then he could have panicked and just stopped and tried to hit a three at, thinking he had less time, but he just kept going, and he made a heck of a play. It was a pretty heads up winning play, and that's a veteran guard that's in his fifth year, and or fourth or fifth, I think. But credit to him. But we can, we've been in a lot of those situations, and we're going to be in a lot more, and we can keep getting better at them. And there's other things we could have done earlier in the game that we messed up a little bit. That's just as important. It's just that one. But that's part of it. We've been pretty good in those. And again, there's nobody I'd rather have at the free throw line really than Omar, of how clutch he's been. And that ball just comes in and out. And if he makes that, we take a timeout and we foul. So it's a whole different deal. But again, like I said, Omar's a clutch. I guess he'll make the next two, and he did before to win us games, and he'll do it again. So just basketball against good teams.
You faced now, this is the third year match in the house.
Yeah.
How are they better now than they were playing earlier?
They're just, they're seem like they're more, they're just more mature players, and they've been through it all, and probably I think they have a great relationship with each other and their coaches and their team that looks like, and I'm not in their practices or huddles, but it looks like that, and that's just part of growing up. You look at all these teams, all these top teams, why they're playing so good, they have all veteran guards. Go down the list. Stevens, Colorado State, these guys, Utah State. Brown's been through the wars. He started out at Northridge, then he went to Montana State, and San Diego State's got two veteran guards that's a big part of it.
Do you think the Mountain West has taken more older players? You think it's an older league
I do.
than some of the other leagues? And
Yes,
that's why it's
huge. Yeah, I really do, because like I said, you look at the plays that Utah State made down the stretch, those were nice veteran plays, and Guys have been through it, and we've had our share of that too, where we've made some nice veteran plays, and then but that is a big key to you look at especially the teams in the upper half of the standing right now have really, really old guards.
I know you said you guys didn't practice yesterday, but in talking to the guys, how's their response been?
Oh, these guys are great, and I mean, they were hurting, and they because it was a interesting game. I mean, they came out, took control of the game. We battled back, took the lead before half, took another lead up 7. They battled back, and then all of a sudden you look up and like, oh, good, we're gonna. I think our guys felt like, oh, we're gonna win, and then it got snatched from you, and so those are hard. Those are really hard, and especially when the game's that, 2 really good teams were playing for first place. There was no other way about it, and it was at home, and so yeah, these guys take it hard, but that's when you talk about toughness, the response and the ability to respond is the toughness. That's where this comes in, and it takes a lot of the right mentality to be able to do that.
How's Leon Rice processed in the last couple of weeks? Couple of tough losses at home. But
Yeah.
You always have an optimistic attitude. You seem a little down today. So how are
Do
you
I?
feeling? Oh, just a little bit.
Well, it affects everybody. It does, no doubt. And but my job, no doubt. If it didn't, you're A, not in a position where it means something, and B, you don't care. And these guys all really care. But we regroup when we go in front of the team. We'll regroup, and it's not phony. It's not fake. We're authentic with each other, and we acknowledge the fact that we all care and that but we're gonna, all right, let's strap our shoes on, let's lace them up, let's go compete again, and we've been really good at doing that. And we tear out the rearview mirrors of the car and let's get it going forward again. But there can be a grieving process almost, and you go get your mind right, whatever that takes, and then you just bounce back together. And we have to be bounced back, 100% for Wednesday. Otherwise, you're going to get, what's coming. And a great team and maybe the hardest spot to play. It's like, all right, here we go.
I ask this half jokingly, half seriously. Do you have to do anything in terms of asking for extra security or anything, or worrying about what happens?
Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping New Mexico would. Some stuff has happened down there over the years, and I'm not just talking about last year, all those things. But I'm not really worried about that. I hadn't thought of that, but I'm just worried about the Lobos on the court. That's it. The other stuff will handle itself, I'm sure.
Football has a total week usually. There's not a bye to get ready for a game. Basketball, you're back out on the floor.
Yeah.
3 days later. Pluses, minuses of having that situation?
Yeah, there is both. There's pluses and minuses, and that's the complete challenge of when there's this. I mean, look at has there ever been those? Again, me and my buddies that are all in coaching, we bounce stuff off each other's, and some of it's recency bias. You're like, man, I don't remember a tougher schedule where you're 4 top 25 teams in a row, 3 of them on the 4 out of your 5 games are top 25 teams, and 3 of them are on the road. I don't remember a tougher time as far as schedule-wise. But again, like I said, I don't remember all those others there might have been. But, yeah, this is a tough stretch, no doubt. And you're going to have to fight through some stuff. And, we got tough guys, though. We do.